not to bring the room down, but my father, I'm an only child, only daughter, only child, incredibly close to my parents growing up. They were my everything, still are. My dad was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia when I was 35, I think it was, about 4 months after my younger son was born.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, like you see these stories about people suffering from cancer and what their families go through, and, you're removed from it when you're seeing it. But there are types of cancer that are sort of quiet and horrible in their own ways. But, you see these pictures of families gathered around in bed in these peaceful moments. Acute myeloid leukemia does not function like that, for better or for worse. It's a very violent disease. And for anyone who has ever been through a form of cancer like this with a 60-something-year-old man, it ain't easy, because they're like the baby boomer meat and potatoes. Don't tell me what to eat. Don't tell me how to take care of myself. Like, why am I in this hospital bed? And it was, from day one of his diagnosis, we lived a nightmare. We very much lived a nightmare. And the reality of being an only child became real to me in a way that I have never had to experience it before, of course. And I've always been very much into wellness. I eat, you have to be to survive in these sorts of like work environments and stuff. You have to like optimize everything about your life that you can. So whether it's drinking water or meditating or doing yoga or working out or doing a Whole30, I've done rounds of Whole30s, just to get through deals, just to keep my mind as crisp as possible. So you learn all of these crazy techniques to survive and they're all healthy, they're all good things, but they're also tools when you're dealing with difficult things. None of my tools were working anymore. I couldn't meditate. My dad was in the hospital. He would call me at 3:00 in the morning, screaming at me. He was very delusional. And he would call me at 3 a.m. from the hospital, literally screaming at me, waking me up in the middle of the night, telling me that I had abandoned him. Why had I left him here? My mother was colluding with the doctors. Just, there would be brain bleeds and cardiac arrests and just one thing after another for the 10 months that we went through this with him. And it was in that I started running because I couldn't meditate anymore because it hurt too much. I couldn't sit with that pain. It was just too much for me to deal with. And I've always kind of like, I was never a runner growing up. I would like complain when I had to do the mile in gym class and like dramatically heave afterwards. I always worked out, but like running, I might like run on the treadmill for a second before a gym workout or something, but I certainly was by no stretch of the imagination a distance runner.
Right.
But coming out of this, I had a 4-month-old son. I had my other son had just turned 3. I was, my mom, God bless her. She's a wonderful person, but she's not like an action person in the hardest situation.
Right. I understand.
And I am. And so I was filling that role. And so, between crying in my car alone and, all the things that you had to do, like I just started running because I didn't know what else to do. It wasn't like a conscious decision, like I'm going to go for a run to deal with this in a healthy way. It was just like, I have so much ick in me right now that I need to move.
Yes.
And I started running, and whether it was a mile or 2 miles or 4 miles, and it kept growing and growing, and it became my meditation.
I love that.
It became my safe way to process what I was dealing with because I didn't have to just sit still with it. I could get it out. So my mind was quiet. I wasn't like listening to, audiobooks and podcasts and stuff are wonderful when you're working out, but sometimes it's good just to have quiet or music, and so I would go on these long runs to deal with it all. And 10 months later, we did end up losing my father. We did a terminal extubation, which I had to make the call on doing. And I kept running. I just kept running. And the funny thing about running or meditation or anything that gives your brain a little bit of quiet is that your mind starts to feel like it can tiptoe into those areas that felt unsafe. And so through the distance running, and again, like you might be somebody who crochets, you might love yoga, you might love, doing crossword puzzles, whatever it is that gives your mind that safe, quiet time to tiptoe into areas that feel like they're not safe. That's what you need to indulge, whether it's for 5 minutes a day or for 2 hours a day. And for me, in doing this running, so many other parts of my life that weren't right started to kind of become clear to me.